You know, I'm totally cognizant of the fact that 40 million people need this river. But unfortunately, this river can't sustain 40 million people. We need to respect the river for what it is, and we're not doing that. I am the Conservation Director of Living Rivers. I have a contract with the Waterkeeper Alliance and serve as the Colorado Riverkeeper. The Riverkeeper is given to a person who is acknowledged by the community as a person who's trying to make the Colorado River or any river watershed healthier than it is right now. So we're caretakers, we're keepers.
John, is it just my imagination, or is it really possible that it's about 4 feet lower now than it was the last time we were here?
Well, statistically, the Bureau of Reclamation says 20% less.
And you're describing the change since about 2000, so the flow has decreased by about 20% compared to the 20th century average.
Yes.
So it's a very different river than it was in the 20th century, and temperatures are warmer, so that's making the drying that much worse.
Yeah. But what's different now is, you know, we've had a successive amount of years of below normal flow. The peaks are what is lower, and sometimes the snowmelt is beginning sooner. I remember 1995, there were 50 days when the river was over 50,000 cubic feet per second. This year it only got to 23,000, half of that. In fact, the 20th century was the mussel year for the Colorado River Basin. Unfortunately, all the laws are based on that mussely flow. It turns out it's a weakling river. Ecologically, it's a vibrant river. It's one of the most vibrant I've ever seen in my life. But as far as for human consumption, not so. Okay.
So it's a Monday morning. How busy would it be on the weekend?
So the commercial outfitters all launch at different days, but the weekends are a little more crowded. And that was a rock. I went over here because I know there's rocks behind those yellow boats. And then I hit one anyway. This means I go to the other side of the river.
Some people might come to the river and think they would see clear water or bluish water. This part of the Colorado River carries a lot of sediment, a lot of erosion.
The Colorado River is, as far as other rivers in the United States, it's number 25 in volume. But it has the two largest reservoirs in the United States, Lake Powell and Lake Mead. As far as sediment concentration, it has more sediment than any river in North America that I know of. But the rapidity of change is happening in people's lifetimes. And that's profound, because nature doesn't work that quick unless there's something goofy. And there is, and that's the carbon inputs from our burning of fossil fuels. If there weren't 40 million people here, it wouldn't really matter, because these plants and animals know how to adapt to these changes. But when 40 million people are dependent on this and they're getting 100% of the water, there's not enough for the ecosystems. And that means you have system crash. When you turn on your faucet, you have to realize how much history and geology is behind that drop of water.
So if there's one thing that you think the water managers from all these states, from California to Colorado, have been getting wrong, what do you think it is?
It worked 50 years ago because demand didn't equal supply. But now demand exceeds supply. They should have never let that happen, but they did. This has been underwater since probably 1965, when Lake Powell was filling, and it's been underwater for almost 60 years. This is a landscape subsidence. It's no longer submerged. It's drying out. It's cracking. It's been lubricated and it's moving. I'm almost afraid this one is 10 feet deep. This has not been inundated with sediment yet. This is remarkably fast geologic change. In nature, it doesn't happen this quickly. There were people here for tens of thousands of years that lived in harmony with this river system, with geography and with climate. And it worked for them for generations. And then we come here and in less than 200 years, we've messed it up. It's not functional. It's not sustainable anymore. I mean, this vanity that we're technologically advanced and more intelligent, I just don't buy it. We're just blindly going down this road. Nobody wants to stop and say, hey, well, no, this isn't going to work. Let's have some serious conversations, you know? The demand exceeds the supply by 4 million acre feet. The imbalance is going to sink the ship. We went from an environment of intense sediment, and then now we're going to a place with none except for coarse gravels and stones and cobbles and lots of Cladophora algae and filaments. And to me, it's sad because I know this is not what the Colorado River is supposed to look like or smell like. This is a fake river that's coming out of a dam, whereas upstream it's got sediment, it's warm, it's got driftwood in it, it leaves big, huge beaches. You know, none of that you see down here.
So it's beautiful, the canyon and everything, and the river is still pretty, but what you're seeing is that it's dam controlled, and without the silt and sediment flowing in the water, it's not the way the river would naturally be.
I call it a designer ecosystem. In other words, it's what man wants it to look like, not what nature itself wants it to look like. As a river guide, I mean, I know that nature knows how to repair itself. The problem is we don't connect. Instead of going, what would be good for nature and future generations? Let's do it that way. We just do it what's good for us. How do we make ourselves more prosperous and more wealthy?
Can you describe for us what you see as you look there?
Like I said, I already know it's going to be restored. I would like to see humans make the decision rather than nature. In other words, a consensus of the human policy makers that said, you know, we did make a mistake. It would be better if we didn't have this thing. Let's make the Grand Canyon what it was 100 years ago. Yeah, let's take it down. I want that conversation. I want to hear those words. If we remove Glen Canyon Dam and restore Glen Canyon, I totally realize it's going to be an ugly place for a while. To me, what's important is that we admit the mistake and correct it. That means we show respect for the future, we show respect to the river and to this spiritual place.